Yankov went to Jan Bzik's house to
Condole.
because he felt that he had to
Pay his respects.
pay his respects. Yes,
Right. To comfort.
and this is what was said by the Jan Bzik's wife after when he had come into the house.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcia. Nicht mehr, ois is not here anymore. Finished, out. Soll euch Gott trösten. God should comfort you, should bring you some comfort. Erst zu Nachtmahl gegessen a Schüssel mit gerstene Kliskes. Just now at the evening meal, now she's talking, the wife, he ate a bowl of, greshkas are buckwheat, a kind of pasta buckwheat. Hat die Vajikache gerät halb zu Yaakov and halb zu sich. She spoke half to herself and half to Yaakov. Gar nicht übergelost. He didn't leave anything over. Azoi wie Yaakov ist da gestanden, haben sich angehäuben, zu nachkommen schreien. Just as Yaakov was standing there, there began to gather neighbors. Weibel in Shalom, women in shawls, Shkrabas, decrepit old men, Koirim in peltzin, peasants in pelts, in some kind of furs, spensels, jackets, lopches, shoes, very coarse shoes. And this is a distinction made with how the village mean person shows up later. Ababa hat sich zu wungen, zu weinen, verbrochen die Finger, sich gezähmt. One of the old women broke out crying and was wringing her hands and crossed herself. The Bejikach hat jeden einem übergehaset die eigene Welte. The widow repeated over and over again the same words. Hat Nachtmahl gegessen, gerechtene Klischkes. He just now, at the evening meal, ate the buckwheat pasta. Als herabgeschlungen. He swallowed everything. Es ist gewesen in der Werte sei, aber Schuldigung gegen Teut, sei aber weisen, wie gut sie, das Weib, ist gewesen zu dem Verstorbenen. And she repeated these words, and they were at the same time, they were both an anger against death, and also showing how good she, the wife, had been with the deceased party, the deceased man. Gegen der Schein von der Scherbele haben alle Ponemer ausgewiesen, dunkel, schottendick, full mit nachtisch sodos. Against the brightness of the pottery shards, I think that's what Sherbala means, all the faces appeared dark and shadowy and full with nighttime secrets. Die Luft hat bald genommen stinken. The air in the little cottage soon began to be fetid, to smell. Emmes is gehat gegangen, bringen Joabakin dem Golof. Somebody went to bring the priest. Der Trumnemacher is gekommen nemen dem Teuten Amos. The coffin maker had arrived to take the dimensions of the dead man. Yaakov hat sich zurück herausgeschaut. Yaakov went back. He pulled himself back. Is do a Fremde zwischen dem Gesindel, aber schon nicht so fremd wie früher. After all, I add that word. After all, he was a stranger in this crowd, but already not as strange as earlier, as not as unfamiliar as he had been earlier. Jan Bojic is a zoi gut wie Jaakov's Shvel. Jan Bojic had been basically like Jaakov's father-in-law. Yaakov hat sich wie der Schrocken von der dosike machshova. Yaakov frightened himself that he had such a thought, that this man had been like a father-in-law to him. Nu, stammen wir nicht alle von Tarachen und von Lavonen? Don't we all, and now he's justifying how he feels, don't we all descend from Terach and from Lavan? In other words, we all stem from the same, these were non-Jews. These were not people who had that. Hat sich geprüft entfliehen. This is the way he chose to answer himself, perhaps to justify himself. Es ist ihm gewesen kalt und es hat gepoigt mit den Zehen. He was cold and his teeth began to chatter. Yaakov hat sich gehabt zugewohnt zu Jan Bojic. Yaakov had gotten used to Jan Bojic. Is gewesen von der Natur a guter und a gerechter. He, meaning Jan Bojic, is gewesen from his nature good and righteous. Hat Jakob in keinmal nicht verschämt oder gerufen mit der Zunamen. He had never shamed Jacob and had never called him with any kind of a nickname or any pejorative. Es ist gewesen zwischen ihm und Jakob a verborgene Neundschaft. There was between Yaakov and Jan I don't know what the word verborgene means, a closeness.
Hidden.
A hidden closeness. Wie der Alte wollt benommen mit der verheulichenem Kusch als sein liebste Tochter wird zu ihm, Jaakovin, gehören. It was as though somehow there was a concealed feeling, a hidden feeling that Jan knew that his beloved daughter was going to marry Yaakov. Nu is his alt sodos, groise sodos. It's all secrets, big secrets. Jacob zu sich gerät. He spoke to himself. Alle Menschen seien beschaffen b'tselem Elohim. Everybody is created in the image of God. Wer weiß? Who knows? Azar Jan Bojic can amol sitzen in Gan Eden mit die andere Chassidei Amos Haolam. It could be, who knows? It could be that Jan Bojic is going to sit in the Garden of Eden with the righteous of the world. He was that kind of a person. Yaakov hat angenommen a Bänkschaft noch wandern. Yaakov began to feel a longing for Wanda. Was sollen sie sich so long? What is taking her so long to return? Nu, it's vet mehr nicht sein kein Ruhe. Well, he's talking to himself the whole time. Now there's not going to be any quiet. Der Hund hat gebillt. The dog barked. Es seien sich angekommen als mehr Peuren. There came even more peasants. Und draußen hat sich bewiesen Zagayek. Outside appeared Zagayek, a kleiner, a dicker, in fustenem Pelz, in filzene Stiefel. Okay, the description of him, he's small, he's thick, and he has a fox pelts, furs, and he's wearing felt boots. He's not wearing what the peasants wore, those very tough boots. He's wearing something soft and comfortable. Auf den Kopf hat getragen flutternem Hut ähnlich zur Streimung. And on his head, he was wearing I believe it's a fur hat, which resembled a Streimel, the hat that was worn, I don't know, maybe originally by the Polish nobility and taken over by Jews, but that kind of a hat. Die Wonsen unter der Grobenose haben sich eingespitzt wie bei a cocktail. The whiskers that were under his thick nose blew up like a tomcat. Es hat ungeheuben Tagen. The day was now breaking. Die Sterne haben sich ausgelöschen. The stars turned themselves off. They disappeared. Der Himmel ist geworden blass und rose. The sky became pale and rose. The gentleness of the nature in comparison with Zagavik. Ergens hinter de Berg hat schon aufgesprotzt die Sonne. Somewhere behind the mountain, the sun was already rising. Reutlicher Falken haben sich ausgelegt über den Schnee. Rosy flecks of light were laying over the snow. The Vögel was bleiben der Winter, and the birds that remain in the winter, seien sich vergangen mit rohe Kolus. They began to sort of carry on with raw voices, with sharp voices. Yaakov is a weg in Stall zu Behemoth. Yaakov went into the barn with the animals. Kvialtula, the jüngste Kuh, so this is the name of the youngest cow, was is erst nicht lang, see the word erst again, erst nicht lang, noch gewähnt a Jalwelke, who was just recently, or up until recently, or not long ago, she had been barren, hat schon gehalten bei Obkelben sich, was already about to give birth to calves. Sie ist gestanden in ungeblusene. She stood a blown up one, bloated. Und von der Pechiker Molde is gerun a Schnirl Gavel. And from her very sticky face, there was a little trickle of saliva. Die feuchte Augen haben geglotzt gleich auf Jakob, sich wie gebeten. Helf mir, Mensch. the moist eyes looked or stared directly at Yaakov, as if to say to him, help me, person, help me. I guess maybe beginning to feel pains or uncomfortable. Yaakov, shall I go on for another paragraph or you want to start
Yes.
with L? Okay. Yaakov hat genommen zu greifen van de ki zeer fitel. Yaakov began to prepare for the cows their feed, their food. Hat say euch gedacht, euch milken, and they also needed to be milked. Yaakov hat zu neuf gemischt gehabt Streu, klein, brekev. Yaakov put together the chopped straw and some sort of bran and turnips. Nu, wir seien alle Knecht, hat Yaakov gemurmelt zu de behemoths. Look, this is the third time we've had new on this page. Look, we're all slaves. Yaakov murmured to the cows. Gott's Knecht. Das Triel hat sich aufgeprallt und Wanda is reingefallen. The door is opened and Wanda fell in. She fell into the house. Das Ponym reut, nass von Tränen. Her face was red and wet from tears. Sie ist zugefallen zu Jacobin mit Geheul wie Lahavdil. Die Mama Alea Hashalom, Erev Yom Kippur, Nacht Edel sie ist weg, Valgerin das Licht. Okay, and she fell on Yaakov with a cry like not to be compared with. This is different, separate from the way his mother would cry Erev Yom Kippur when she was going to roll the candles for the light. Valgali. It's hot ich bloß dich. Now I have just you. Yeah.
Wie Wohlendorf hat geherrscht a stiller Hunger. Hat man dem Weihnacht gefeiert mit Pompe. In the village, there was a quiet hunger. And on Christmas Eve, they lit things up with what is pompe?
I'll look it up.
I think it's like pump. But I'm interested in this word Weihnacht.
That's a German word.
It's a German word meaning
Christmas Eve, I think.
Christmas Eve, Weihnacht. Okay, because it's certainly not the word that I have ever heard in Yiddish for Christmas. I've heard other things, but never that. But okay, so I guess somehow they use that word here.
I could be wrong. I'm remembering.
No, it's fine. Yeah. I've never seen
that's
that
correct.
word before. Weihnacht. Okay. So it was celebrated with pomp, even though there was this hunger in the town.
Yeah. I think Moshe is looking up pompe.
No, it is pomp.
It's pomp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Erst hat geheult a groß Chaser und wer a klein Chaserl, aber in jeder Platte ist gewinn genug Fleisch auf der Vilja. Es hat euch nicht ausgefällt, kein Okovit. Okay. So whoever had a big hog, and whoever had a little pig, but in every hut there was enough meat for the vilio. What is a vilio? Vilia.
That was actually a problem. As far as
Yeah.
I know, that's the name of a river.
Yes, that's right. A river in, where, do you know which city?
No,
Isn't it in Vilna? Anyway, okay. But yeah, I could not find it either. And I didn't search in the Yiddish Book Center. I bet I could have found it there. But anyway,
He's
I
saying
think
that
it,
everywhere in
I
this
think,
place there was enough meat.
yeah,
no, but I think it means a Fleisch auf der William. I think it means for the feast, for the feast. Genug Fleisch
Okay.
auf der, yeah.
Yeah. So it's euch nicht, euch gefällt kein Aquavit. And there was never a lack, there also was no lack of Aquavit. Die Kinder haben sich zu neu genommen und gegangen von Chate zu Chate, singen Kalendas. So the children would go from one hut to another singing Christmas carols. Die ältere Skotzim haben herumgeführt, a Schegets verstellt Pfarrer Wolf, und alle haben geschenken kleine Goben. I'm sorry, I need somebody else to help translate that. I have the
Okay.
older people, but that's all I got.
Okay, the older Shkotzim, the older non-Jews, had went around with a shegitz, a young non-Jew, dressed like a wolf, and everybody gave the wolf small gifts. Gob.
Huh.
Gob is a
Thank
gift.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. In der Kaplitze ist given zerbrochen der Dach, aber Zagayek hat bei sich in der Schoppe eingerichtet a Jesus Spiel. So in the chapel is given zerbrochen der Dach. The roof was decorated.
no, broken.
Broke.
Oh, the roof was broken. Oh,
Right.
but
right.
and Zagayek is one of the people who's been mentioned before, right?
He's like the Polish noble's representative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he had arranged at his place for them to do their Jesus play, their reenactment, I suppose, of the Christmas story. Es ist gestanden die Wieg mit dem Kind Jesus. What does the word Wieg mean?
The cradle.
So they put up a creche, a cradle with the baby Jesus. Mir hat vorgestellt, wie die Königin und Zakonim kommen kein Beis Lochem, Bet Lochem, that's Bethlehem, begrüßen Gottes neugeborene Sohn, und über seiner Kopf scheint der Morgenstern. So they set up a cradle for the baby Jesus, and they acted out how the kings. What are the skonim?
Zakanim, elders.
Old people.
sorry,
the elders.
and
Moshe
so that as how the kings and the elders had come to Bethlehem to greet God's newly born son, and on their heads they're shown the morning star. Als es gelegen zugegräht vor der Dosiker-Spiel von Variaren. Everything was arranged for the same play as they had done for many years. Is that correct?
As the year before.
Oh, as the year before. Die lange Steckens, die flachsene Baird, der vergildener Stern. So the long, what are these Steckens?
Sticks. So they came with, they always are pictured with the sticks, walking sticks. Walking sticks.
Die flachsene Baird. What are Baird? Oh, they're beards. Yes,
The beards.
Yeah, they're flax-colored beards, and the gilded stars. Die Scheppelech in der Stahl seinen Gewinn
Emestiker.
The sheep in the barn were real und sehr mechanisch, hat der Freit die verzongte Gemieter. I need help with that phrase. Und sehr
and the bleating of the sheep made happier the despondent moods. People were despondent because of the hunger, but the bleating of the sheep helped to make them feel a bit happier.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll stop there and hand it over to somebody who can do a little better translating.
Oh no,
you did fine. But there's another word now for the shopper instead of we've had few words for barn, I guess. Stall, is there different? Anyway, very small point. Let's go on. Yeah.
Who is next?
Moshe.
Oh, okay. Der Winter ist gewesen schwerer. It was a tough winter. Zu seinen umgegangen Schlaffkeiten und Untergang. Circulating were weaknesses and epidemics. Auf ein Zementar seinen zugekommener Hipsbissel vor ihm, von der Erwachsene und Kleinwerk. On the cemetery, there was a whole bunch of new graves, both for adults and for kids. Die Winden haben gehabt umgeschleudert Srovhilzer and Slomim. The winds had toppled over a lot of the wooden crosses, was man hat reingesteckt in die bergliche Erde, that had been stuck into the little hillocks of earth of the graves. Jetzt ist gekommen die Zeit, sich zu freuen. Now in Christmas, the time has come to be happy. Zachariah hat geteilt die Kinder spiellich und gegeben die Babas Weißmehl aufzubacken dem Oplatek. Zachariah distributed to the children playthings, and he gave the older women white flour to bake the wafers, presumably a Christmas kind of custom. Jakob hat schon gelernt, wandern als jeden Gläubigen in einen einzigen Gott, Yaakov had already taught Wanda that Jews only believe in a single God, and as Leut der Jiddische Emuna, and according to the Jewish faith, kann nicht Gott haben kein Sohn und kein Schutvim. God cannot have either a son or any partners. Aber Wanda hat sich gemusst beteiligen in dem Jontef von Dorf, but Wanda had to participate in the fest of the village. Again mit allem zugleich auf Pasterka, going with everyone to equally to the midnight mass. Man hat ihr viele gegeben a role in der Vorstellung bei Zagaiken. They even gave her a role, a part in the presentation at Zagaiek. Sie ist gestanden neben Stefanen mit a Rifle über den Kopf wie a heilige Figur. She stood next to Stefan with a hoop around her head like a saint. So that was obviously the hoop was a halo. Stefan hat gehabt ungetan a Masker mit a weißer Bord und a heucher Kaske. Stefan had put on a mask with a white beard and a high helmet. So hat gestunken von ihm mit Bromfen. He reeked of brandy. Hat Stillerheit gekneipt wandern. Quietly, surreptitiously, he pinched Wanda und ihr eingeräumt in euer Verscheidkeiten and whispered obscenities into her ear. Wanda hat aber einmal und wieder einmal gebeten Jakoben, soll reinkommen in der Chatte. Wanda had repeatedly asked Jakob to come into the hut, essen das feierliche Mahlzeit zusammen mit der Familie and to participate in the family meal. Viele Antek, even Antek, was is Jakob's son, who's an enemy of Jakob, hat geprüft mit ihm sich überbetten in dem Yom Tovtiken Tag, tried to make up to him in these festive days. In Stub ist gestanden Choyinke hangen mit Bänder und Kranzen. In the home stood a query Christmas tree, I don't know, hung with ribbons and wreaths. Does anyone know what Choyinke is?
Yeah.
A Christmas tree? Is that Choyinke a Christmas tree or is it something else?
Don't
No, I
know.
think it is, but again, I could not find that word. We
Yeah,
have to
I
look
also
for
could-
that. It's not the word that we see, in the dictionary.
Yeah, and it doesn't resemble any Russian word that I know, although of
Yeah.
course this is
I was
Poland.
going to ask you, but what is the
Yeah.
Russian for a Christmas tree?
The Russian word, yolka.
Oh, so
Yolka, yeah. That's, not even close.
die Brigitte hat gehabt zugegräht Schmalzplätze. The widow had prepared fat cakes, Krapfen, dumplings gewickelt in Kreut, wrapped in cabbage, allerlei Fleischen und Grinsen, all sorts of meat and veg. So hat euch gefällt, am Anspiel zu a Grod. There was lacking a man, a man for the event. I'll hope the guests sign in on because if the guests are an odd number, is es a schlechter Zeichen für ein neues Jahr. It's a bad sign for the coming year, so you need to even out the guests. Aber Jakob ist geblieben eingespart, but Jakob was obstinate. Die Gekräfte seien alle treif. The food is all not kosher. So het ausgeschmeckt mit Getzendienst, was auf dem is gesorgt. It all had the smell of idolatry, about which it is said, Yaharog ba'al Yahvor, Mazol besser umkommen, eder verbrechen. So you should rather be killed than verbrechen, break the law. No, but that's not quite right. Verbrechen. Sorry, can someone help me with that?
No, I think you're right. It's better.
But
The idea is that there are certain things, certain rules that it would be better to be killed.
I've got to transgress.
Rather than to transgress. Though I wouldn't have thought that this would have fallen in that category, but perhaps it does.
Okay, I just couldn't retrieve the word. Age interferes with verbal retrieval. Anyway, is geblieben sitzen in Shire. He remained sitting in the barn, opgekommen mit Krukens, and I'm not sure, opgekommen with getting by with dry food. I'm so, you can correct me.
Yeah, I think he satisfied himself with just a little dry food with Krukens, as compared with what was being offered in the kata up above. That was quite a feast.
I have to look up opgekommen. So making do with.
Making do with just some dry food, dry bits.
As is gewesen weitig verwandern. It was a pain for Wanda zuzusehen, wie Jakob zundert sich auf haar. Jakob separates himself. Behält sich aus, is hiding away. Die Meuten haben gespäht aus ihm und aus ihr. The maidens, the other girls, mocked or teased both him and her. Wanda, weil alle haben schon gewusst, dass is ihr Kochanek, because everyone knew already that he was her lover. Die Bzikicha wordt offengelegt, als we bedarfen, was Gitter Lois werden von dem verscholtenen Jid. The Bzikicha, her mother, has openly said that the sooner the better to get rid of this cursed Jew, was bringt mit sich Mazel, that brings bad luck with him, when is a chagra by their familia and is a disgrace, a shame for the family. Wanda hat jetzt allerlei Stickler. Wanda hat jetzt hat jetzt sich gehitten zu kommen zu ihm bei Nacht. Wanda was careful about coming to him at night, while the Jungen haben zugegräht alle Stickler, because the young folk had prepared all sorts of pranks or tricks to play on her. What was all kommen in Überschrecken? They wanted to come and frighten him. Immer rausschleppen in draußen, drag him outside, zwingen zu essen, Kelbas, force him to eat
sausage.
Some sort of pork product.
It's a pork sausage.
Sausage, yeah. Emmett hat verlost fallen Abort wegen Verein, warfen ihm in Teich Barak Korban zu dem Topiel. Someone had let drop a word about throwing him into the river as a sacrifice to the river spirit, oder im Gor castrieren. That's obvious, or castrate him. Wanda hat zugestellt Jakob ein Messer, sich zu beschützen. Wanda supplied Jakob with a knife to protect himself, open wird auf ihm umfallen if they will attack him. Zu vertreiben die Bitternis in Hart, hat sie sich zugehabt zum harten Tropfen, to drive away the bitterness in her heart. She took an extra alcoholic drink, geproevet vertrinken die Pein, and trying to drown the pain, the sorrow. Okay, I've done a fair long paragraph. Who's next?
Okay. Dem dritten Tag, noch Weihnacht, hat man gefeiert in Dorf dem Turon Yontif. On the third day after Christmas, they celebrated in the village dem Turon. I don't know what that is, some festival. Yeah, does anybody know what it means?
I'll look it up.
No, I don't
couldn't
know the
find it in
holiday
the
3 days
dictionary.
after Christmas.
Yeah.
Three,
You could probably look at,
yeah.
anybody have AI?
Oh, it's okay. So, Turan Yontov in Ondenk von dem fahrzeitigen Gott Radergots. So it was in memory. This festival was in memory of the ancient god Rodergast, der Gott von Pferd, Winter, Courage, Kraft. And this was the god of horses, of winter, of courage and strength. Das Galliche Jobak hat gerät als man darf abschaffen dem dosigen getzendinerischen Feiertag. So the priest Jobak was saying that they should abolish this idolatrous festive day, weil mit Jesus' Kommen haben alle Abgötter verloren die Macht, because with coming of Jesus, all idols had lost their power. Und als in die Größe steht, hat man schon dem Jontef nicht gedenkt. And in the big cities, they no longer remembered this festival. Aber das Volk im Dorf hat sich nicht zugehört zu ihm. But the folk, the people in the village, did not listen to him. Man hat getanzt bei Zagaiken in Heus. They danced in Zagaiek's house, und euch in die poerische Hattes, and also in the peasants' huts. Die dorfische Musikanten haben gerimpelt auf Fiedlech, gezimbelt auf Zimbeln. So in the village huts, the village musicians strummed on fiddles, and they played the mandolin. gepoikt auf Peiklich, and they beat drums, little drums. Man hat ausgespielt a Schusterl, a Pastochel, a Taibele, a Dobranoc, wie euch das Klanglied von Goises. Okay, so they played the little cobbler, the little shepherd, a little dove, and Dobronots is a melody that was played on the night before a Jewish wedding. So it was they must have played that as one of the melodies, and also a lament that was played when a person was dying. Goises was hot a gerufen a gewein by the Babbas. So this person who was dying, who brought out a cry from the old peasant ladies. Die Jungen und Meuden haben getanzt am Mazurka. The young men, young boys and girls danced a mazurka, a polka, a krakowiak, a góralski. So these are all different kinds of dances: a mazurka, a polka, a krakowiak, and a góralski. Man hat vergessen in Dorf alle Sorgen, and they forgot all their troubles in the village. Schlittens haben sich geglitscht über den Schnee. Sleighs were pulled over the snow, full ongepackt mit Schkotzim und Schickses, and they were laden with Gentile men and women. Die glücklich auf die ferdische Hälser haben geklungen. The little bells on the horses, around the horses' necks, were ringing. Da und dort hat man eingespannt in a Schlittele a Hund. And here and there, they I think harnessed a dog to a little sled. Wanda hat gehabt zugesorgt Jakoben, sich nicht zu freuen in die dosige getzendienerische Chagoas. Wanda promised Yaakov that she would not take part in these idolatrous festivities. Aber sie ist geworden hofferdicker von Show zu Show. But she became more and more confident from hour to hour. Sie hat gemusst tanzen mit die Poerim und mit sie trinken. She felt she had to dance with the peasants and to drink with them. Sie hat nicht gekonnt, wie lang sie ist in Dorf, sich halten von der Weitens. So she was not able, as long as she remained in the village, to keep herself at a distance. Grod der Fall, weil sie hat geplant zu entläufen mit ihm, Jakoben, und anzunehmen dem jüdischen Glauben. And this was because she was planning to run away with Yaakov, and that she was planning to take on the Jewish belief. Wat sie nicht getort, der Wecken beim Volk kein Chshad. She didn't want to arouse any suspicion among the people. Sie ist reingelaufen zu Jakoven in Shire, der Hitzte, mit scheinenden Augen. So she ran towards Jacob in the barn, der Hitzte, sweaty, with shining eyes, und bald zurück herausgelaufen, and immediately she ran out again. Sie hat ihm zugeworfen eilige Kuschen, and she blew him very quick kisses. Sie hat aufgelegt das Ponym auf sein Brust, sich zerweint, and she aufgelegt. She placed her face on his chest, and she sobbed. Sie hat geteinet zu Jakob, and she complained to Jacob. Sei nicht böse auf mir. Don't be angry with me. Ich bin schon ein Fremder in mein eigener Heim. I'm already a stranger in my own home. Also seinen jeden allemal sind mir hat sie herausgetrieben von Eretz Israel. And this is how the Jews were all the time since they were expelled from Eretz Israel. When wollen sie zurückkommen dahin? And when will they go back there? When Mashiach wird kommen. When Messiah comes. When wird kommen? And when will he come? Säumt sich, aber wir hoffen auf ihm jeden Tag. He's tarrying, but we are hoping that he will come any day. Wo ist jetzt, and where is he now? Yaakov hat gemusst schmeichelen. Yaakov had to smile. Teilmal ist der Moich ihrer gewinn scharf Jiddisch. Mit amol ist sie wieder geworden a Temperpoerte. Sometimes her mind was very sharp, Jewishly sharp, and suddenly she once again became a dull peasant woman. Die Choga, das Trinken, das Verbringen mit dem Gesemmel, hat sie zurück geplatscht. The celebrating this Gentile festival, the drinking, the spending time with the group, the crowds in the village, made her caused her to regress. Yaakov had gemusst mit ihr anheben von Snai, and Yaakov had to start teaching her once again from scratch. Aber hat bei sich aufgepasst, nicht zu ruhen, bis sie wird lieb kriegen Jüdischkeit. But he made sure that he would not rest until she came to love Yiddishkeit, to love Judaism, mit a wahrer Liebschaft, to love Judaism with a true love. Yaakov, hat gehat mafkir gewen die neshama. He, Yaakov, had to abandon his soul. Had geteinet to God, and he argued to God, straf mich, Vater, von jetzt an will ich dich dienen on shum Hoffnung auf Schar. Punish me, Father. From now on, I will serve you without any hope of reward. Noch Jahr ist wieder geworden still, aber jeden Tag, jede Show hat etwas gekonnt verlaufen. After New Year, everything quietened down again. But each day, each hour, something could have got lost, have become lost. Antek hat sich schon bei Zeitens genommen kriegen mit der Schwester Bascha. In time, Antek began to argue with his sister Bascha und der Mutter über Tatens Yerusha. So he began to argue with his sister Basha and his mother about his father's
Inheritance.
Yerusha.
Inheritance.
Inheritance.
The inheritance, the dough.
Sorry, the
money, the dough.
Ja.
Yeah.
Hat herausgenommen Gefäß von Vaters Haus. He took utensils out of his father's house und rüber geführt zu sich in der Chata, and he moved them over to his hut. Hat a viele geprüft zu nehmen die key, and he even tried to take the cows away. Die Beschichiker und Bascha haben sich gericht, als Wander wird sein auf seiner Zeit. The widow and her daughter and Basha anticipated that Wanda would take their part und nicht zulassen, dem Bruder verhappen sich für sich das ganze Hab und Guts. And so they thought that she would take their part and not allow their brother to take for himself all the possessions. Aber Wanda hat sich mehr nicht gewollt mischen in die heimische Ampernischen. But Wanda no longer wanted to be involved in these household squabbles. Sie hat sei wie nicht gesollt bleiben in Dorf. In any event, she didn't want to remain in the village. Wanda und Jakob haben jetzt gehabt eine Hoffnung. Wanda and Jakob had one hope. Der Winter soll was gicherer rüber und es sollen sich öffnen die Wege in die Berg. their hope was that the winter would pass over as quickly as possible, and that the ways through the mountains would open up. Die alte Goyim, was haben ihre Zeichens, haben vorausgesagt, Jahr a frien Frühling und a gerettenisch. So the old Gentiles said that this year there were signs and that they could predict that this year there would be an early spring and a good harvest. Die Wintertour hat ungeheuben Sprossen unter den Schnee. The winter crop of wheat had begun to sprout under the snow, früher wie gewöhnlich, earlier than usual. Ein alter Poier hat inmitten Frost vernommen a Quacken von Jabes. An old peasant had, in the middle of the frost, the very cold weather, he'd heard the croaking of frogs. Feldmice was bleiben behalten in die Stallen in Scheieren bis in Sommer, seinen gekrochen unter den Schnee zu die Felder. Field mice, which usually remained hidden in the stables and the barns until summer, they had begun to crawl under the snow towards the fields. In mitten Januar ist geworden a Regen und hat gedunnert und geblitzt. In the middle of January, there was rain fell, and there was thunder and lightning. A traf was skenim haben a zoinem nicht gedenkt. And this was an occurrence which the old people had they'd never come across such a thing before, that they didn't remember about this, having experienced this before. Der Jontef von die drei Königen ist ausgefallen a Linder. The festival of the three kings, it came out in a very mild way. In Chodesh Luti hat sich genommen a Reusweisen als die Nevuas wegen Frühling seinen war. In the month, I don't know what Chodesh Luti is. Does anybody know?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
What about Elkatina? It's probably a Russian or Ukrainian word.
Or a Polish.
Or Polish.
Yeah.
One of them.
So in the month of Luti, it emerged, began to emerge that the predictions of an early spring were true. Warme windlich haben ungeheuben Blosen von ergens und die Sonne ist gestanden im Himmel a gela, a Sommerdicke. So warm winds began to blow from somewhere, and the sun stood in the heavens it stood yellow in the heavens. Azumerdike the Reife Zunblum. So the sun was yellow, summery, like a ripe sunflower. Und im Teichel, was ist vorbeigeflossen neben Jan Bziks Haus, hat geplatzt dem Eis und das Wasser ist raus von die Bregen. And the stream which flowed past Jan Bzik's house, it broke the ice, and the water broke the banks of the stream. Poerim haben geschworen, als hat sich do bewiesen a Vogel, was kehrt sich von die warme Länder. Peasants swore that there had appeared, that a bird had appeared which had returned from the warm lands, that usually returned only from the warm lands, erst in Chodesh April, only in the month of April. Hat gespielt in Wald zwischen die Jodles und ungesorgt summerdicke Besuras. It was playing in the forest among the fir trees, and it was singing summery messages.
Greetings, yeah.